Rafe Hanley's boots crunched down on the skeletal deck of the Salvation's End, a once proud dreadnought now split open and exposed to the black. Shattered metal groaned beneath layers of dust and frost. 1,000 stars glinted through the ruptured hole like silent spectators. His HUD flickered as it scanned the debris field. Biosigns, none. Radiation, low. Atmosphere, none. Tag, human remains detected, 42 meters northwest. He moved without hesitation. Around him sprawled the carnage of a forgotten battle, twisted hulls, weapon systems sheared in half, carbon scoring like scars across steel. Helmets cracked. Rifles floated, still gripped by skeletal hands. Some were Tsolari, with elongated bone structures and ritual armor scorched into their forms. Others were human. He could tell. You always could. He knelt beside a shattered pressure suit. The chest plate bore the faded patch of the 81st Interceptor unit. His unit. Rafe reached into a pouch on his thigh and pulled out a microbeacon. He clipped it to the remains. Tag confirmed. Identity pending. One by one, he honored them. Quiet. Efficient. Detached. But the next body stopped him cold. The armor was heavier. Customized. Painted once in navy and bronze, now dulled by time and void exposure. A familiar gash marked the right pauldron, the blade had gone deep. Right where the man's tattoo used to be. Marcus, Rafe whispered. He dropped to his knees. His gloves trembled. He stared at the faceplate, cracked but intact, and saw the reflection of his own tired eyes in it. You stubborn bastard. You actually stayed put. The silence pressed in. Not the emptiness of space, but the weight of memory. Marcus had died buying Rafe and the others time. He never got a grave. Just rumors. Wreckage. Silence. Rafe reached down and unlatched the chest unit. Inside, tucked beneath the armor's breastplate, were the dog tags, burnt, twisted, but still legible. Marcus Vel. Terra. Live loud, die proud. He exhaled shakily and pocketed them. Hey, Marcus, he muttered. Told you I'd come back. Took me a decade, but... A low hum cut through the silence. Rafe's head snapped up. His HUD flickered red, new arrival. From the clouds of wreckage emerged a vessel unlike any Terran design. Long, bone-white, adorned with shimmering glyphs and scorched tribal marks. A Tsolari honor barge. His jaw clenched. The ship docked not far from his own. Rafe watched as a boarding ramp extended with practiced grace. Then came the warriors, tall, reptilian, faces hidden behind ceremonial masks carved from obsidian and gold. Their leader stepped forward last, flanked by 2 standard-bearers. Rafe didn't need his scanner to identify him. General Sarun the Unburned. The living legend. The one Marcus had fought on this very ship. The Tsolari who barely survived it, and made sure the universe knew it. Rafe stood, pulse knife magnetized to his hip. Didn't think you'd show, he called out, voice tight. Bit far for a victory parade. Sarun tilted his head. His voice came filtered through a rebreather, low, melodic, contemptuous. This is hallowed ground for our people, Terran. Many Tsolari bloodlines were honored here. Same for us, Rafe said. Difference is, we don't strut around it like a red carpet. Sarun took another step, eyes narrowing behind his helmet. I saw you kneeling just now, he said. Was that for the one who screamed like a wounded beast before he died? Rafe blinked. Once. The silence thickened. You want to say that again? He said quietly. Ah, Sarun said, as if recalling something minor. Yes. The human with the loud mouth. He threw himself at me, foaming with rage. I left him broken. I assumed you were mourning that one. Marcus Vel, Rafe said. His name was Marcus Vel. A name is air. He died like an animal. Rafe moved before he realized it. In 2 strides, he stood within arm's reach. The Tsolari guards tensed, but Sauron raised a clawed hand. He was smiling. Or trying to. Rafe's hand hovered over his pulse knife. You know, he said softly, he once told me, if I die first, make sure no alien bastard pisses on my grave. I only speak truth, Sauron replied, unmoved. If you humans want to worship corpses, that is your delusion. We honor only the strong who leave legacy. He left a better one than you. Sauron chuckled. Then why is he dust, and I still breathing? Rafe stared at him. Not with rage. With something colder. I don't think you walked away from that fight as clean as you pretend, he said. You wear your scars under all that armor. Sauron's jaw tightened. I carry no scars, he hissed. No? Then why'd your people make you a diplomat? That landed. The general's nostrils flared. Rafe stepped back, hand still hovering near his knife. Go do your ritual. I've got a man to bury. He turned, knelt again beside Marcus's remains, and began wrapping them with practiced reverence. Sauron said nothing as he watched. Then, without a word, turned and strode back toward his warriors. As his footsteps faded into the debris, Rafe whispered, I'll make him remember you, Marcus. I'll make the whole damn galaxy remember. The beacon on his shoulder blinked green. Remains tagged. Recovery drone inbound. Above them, the stars burned indifferent. But on the graveyard of giants, old wounds stirred, and new ones began to bleed. 10 years earlier, the dropship rattled like a tin can. Inside, Rafe adjusted his harness, opposite Marcus, who chewed on a toothpick like it was his last meal. You ever think about what happens if we don't make it back? Marcus asked. Rafe didn't look up from his rifle check. No. Figures, Marcus snorted. Just do me a favor, all right? Rafe finally met his gaze. If I go first, don't let some overgrown lizard piss on my bones. You planning to die today? Marcus grinned. No. But you know how I get when I'm bored. Then the blast hit. And nothing was ever the same. The present stank of tension and burned ozone. Rafe stood still amid the field of bones, Marcus's wrapped remains secured to his pack. The Tsolari were forming a loose circle not far from him, chanting low, guttural syllables as glowing sand was poured into spirals across the broken hull. The ritual had begun. He didn't care. He stepped toward them, ignoring the hum of weapons tracking him. Sauron stood at the center, his mask lowered to reveal the ridged face beneath, scaly, pale blue, and lined with ceremonial scars. Rafe walked straight into the circle. The chanting stopped. What is this? Sauron growled. Rafe unslung the wrapped bundle from his back and held it in front of him like a relic. The man you mocked. Marcus Vel. One of the Tsolari barked something in their native tongue. Sauron raised a clawed hand, silencing them. You bring his corpse here? In the middle of a consecration? I'm giving him what he earned, Rafe said. A proper farewell. Among the stars. Not as some animal. But a soldier. You disgrace our right. You already disgraced mine, Rafe snapped. You call him a beast. Said he screamed. That he died clawing at you. I speak facts, Sauron replied, voice cold. No, Rafe said. You speak cowardice. A ripple passed through the Tsolari ranks. Watch your tongue, human. Why? Rafe took a step forward. Afraid of the truth? You think I fear you? I think you fear what Marcus did to you. Sauron's face darkened. He died. And you lived, Rafe said. But not clean. I read the debriefs. You were found unconscious. Bleeding out. Clinging to a shattered blade. Marcus wasn't just a soldier. He was the one who stopped you. He was nothing. Rafe pulled the dog tags from his pocket and tossed them at Sauron's feet. They clinked once, soft and final. He died to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. That's what you'll never understand. The general stared down at the tags, then back up. You want to settle this? I want you to remember his name. No, Sauron said, voice rising. I want to erase it. He stepped into the circle, towering over Rafe. Let us test your species' pride. A duel. You and me. Now. Rafe didn't flinch. What are the terms? First blood. You fall, the remains stay. I fall, you leave and never return. No, Rafe said. Sauron blinked. If I fall, you tell every Tsolari that Marcus Vel wasn't a beast. He was a warrior who nearly killed your legend. You tell them the truth. The general studied him, then gave a slow nod. Accepted. They circled each other. The crowd moved back, forming a wide ring. No weapons beyond blades. No armor enhancements. Just instinct and resolve. Rafe drew his pulse knife, its blue edge flickering to life. Sauron activated a curved short sword with a jagged spine. Both weapons hissed into the cold air. Then Sauron struck. He moved faster than his size suggested, slashing wide. Rafe ducked, pivoted, barely dodging the next blow. He slashed back, but Sauron caught his arm and flung him into a support beam. Pain flared across Rafe's ribs. You're slower than your friend, Sauron said. Rafe rolled to his feet, wiping blood from his lip. You're still talking a lot for someone so afraid. He charged, feinted low, then jabbed high. Sauron blocked, but the knife grazed his shoulder. The Tsolari staggered, surprised. First blood. But the duel wasn't over. Enraged, Sauron roared and tackled Rafe, pinning him. His blade pressed against Rafe's neck. Yield, he growled. Rafe gritted his teeth. You haven't earned it. He slammed his knee into Sauron's side, broke free, and rolled clear. Both men stood panting. You fight like a Terran dog, Sauron spat. And you still flinch when you hear his name, Rafe said. They clashed again, blades ringing, grunts echoing. Rafe's knife sank into Sauron's thigh. The general screamed and dropped to a knee. Rafe stepped back, holding his blade steady. Sauron looked up at him, bleeding, breath ragged. Finish it. No, Rafe said. The Congary's eyes narrowed. You wanted to erase him. I won't let you. But I'm not going to kill a man bleeding in the dirt. He tossed the knife to the ground. You remember this instead. You remember you had every advantage, and still lost. The crowd was silent. Rafe turned his back, lifted Marcus's remains again, and started toward his ship. Behind him, Sauron called out, voice low, nearly human. What was he really like? Rafe paused. Then turned. He was funny. Loud. Brave. He made the worst moments bearable. He was the kind of man who would die for people who didn't deserve him. Sauron looked at the blood on his own hand. Then, with difficulty, bent and picked up the dog tags. He didn't say another word. Rafe kept walking, pulse pounding, chest burning, but lighter than it had felt in years. Somewhere, in the wreckage, Marcus Vel finally rested in peace. Stars turned slowly above the broken hull of the Salvation's End. From a distance, it looked like nothing more than floating scrap, dead steel adrift in space. But within, something had changed. Rafe stood alone on the upper deck, a thin magnetic tether keeping him anchored. The body of Marcus Vel, wrapped in cloth and sealed, rested beside him. A small pod hummed quietly, prepped for release. He knelt, hands steady. A silver coin rested between his fingers, an old Terran custom. It had Marcus's unit emblem stamped on one side, and the words N01 left behind on the other. Rafe slid it under the wrapping. You always said you'd go out with a bang, he murmured. Instead, you got silence. Not sure if that's better or worse. Footsteps approached. Rafe turned without rising. General Sauron stood at the edge of the deck, armor dented, robes torn, his limp still evident. His sword was sheathed, his hands empty. Rafe didn't move. You should have killed me, Sauron said. No, Rafe replied. I should have left you there to explain why you lost. Sauron lowered himself with effort, sitting across from Marcus's remains. For a long time, they said nothing. Finally, the Tsolari general reached into a pouch and drew out a curved shard of obsidian, thin, polished, etched with glyphs. Our warriors carry memory stones, he said. For the honored dead. He placed it gently atop Marcus's chest. Rafe raised a brow. Didn't think you saw him that way. I didn't, Sauron said. Not until you made me look again. He ran a claw over the edge of the pod, his voice subdued. I told myself he was wild. Undisciplined. That he fought like a beast. He did, Rafe said. That's why you almost died. A soft snort escaped Sauron. Almost a laugh. Almost. He fought with purpose, the general said. I remember his eyes. Not rage. Not chaos. Something else. Conviction, Rafe said. He knew he wasn't getting out. And he still charged you. The Tsolari nodded. I thought I'd shamed him. But it was I who was afraid. Not of him, of what he meant. He stood slowly, favoring his wounded leg. We are trained to fear no death. Yet I've thought of that fight every night for a decade. Rafe stood too, brushing frost from his shoulders. Then do something with that. Sauron met his gaze. The Tsolari have long memories. I can ensure this one isn't erased. Rafe nodded once. Then you keep your end of the deal. A pause. Then Sauron extended his arm, not the formal Tsolari salute, but a simple, open hand. Rafe hesitated. Then grasped it. For a heartbeat, warrior and soldier stood united by something deeper than species. Rafe activated the pod. A soft hiss. The seals closed. A gentle hum filled the air as the launch system powered up. Coordinates locked. Trajectory stable. Ready? Rafe asked quietly. Sauron stepped back. Rafe pressed the release. The pod slid free from the deck, drifting outward. Small thrusters fired once, twice, guiding it toward the center of the debris field. There, it would orbit endlessly, among the fallen ships of both sides. Among giants. A light flickered on the pod's surface, a beacon, blue and steady. Rafe saluted. Not formally. Just 2 fingers to the brow, like Marcus used to do after a stupid joke. Rest easy, brother. Behind him, Sauron turned to leave. Then stopped. There is a word in our language, he said without looking back. Drashnkal. It means the one I could not break. Rafe didn't respond. Just watched the pod disappear into the field of dead metal and ancient stories. Later, aboard his ship, Rafe sat at the console. He opened a new record. Galactic Archive entry, Marcus Vell, human soldier. Date of death, Karzan 7 engagement, 4277 AD. Cause, close quarters combat against Tsolari strike force. Final confirmed kill, General Sauron, non-lethal. Recommended citation, valor, honor, sacrifice. He paused, then typed one final line. Some names fade. Others carve themselves into steel. He hit send. Outside, the stars rolled on. And in the wreckage of a forgotten war, one man's name now glowed with the quiet brilliance of legacy. 6 weeks later, Rafe stood in a conference hall on Echelon Station. The ceiling was glass, stars watching silently from above. A long table stretched down the center, lined with military officials, diplomats, and a dozen species from across the Galactic Accord. He hadn't wanted to be there. But the invitation came stamped with more than just protocol. It bore the seal of the Tsolari Dominion. The man across from him now was Ambassador Theleth, Sauron's replacement. Leaner, more silvered, but cut from the same cloth. Lieutenant Hanley, Theleth said, his voice like gravel softened by time. On behalf of the Dominion, I present this document to the Accord Records Division. He slid it across the table. Rafe didn't touch it. He let the clerk beside him scan it first. The room was quiet as the translation processed. Addendum to the Memorial Declarations of Carson 7. By summary decree, Marcus Vel, Terran soldier, is hereby recognized with posthumous warrior status. His battle with General Sauron is to be taught in our war academies as a case of strategic sacrifice, strength, and unyielding conviction. Title bestowed, Dration Kal. There were murmurs. Even among the humans. Theleth nodded to Rafe. The general insisted on this himself before retiring. His injuries were significant. But his pride survived it. Rafe smirked. He said anything about how hard Marcus hit. He said Marcus haunted him more in death than he ever did in life. Rafe looked up. Good. He rose from his seat, ignoring the polite applause. Paper honors meant little. But the lesson they taught, that mattered. On his way out, a young officer caught up with him. Mid-20s. Fresh uniform. Wide eyes. Sir, is it true? That Marcus Vel took down Sauron in single combat? Rafe stopped. No. The officer blinked. He didn't take him down. He chose to. He bought us time. He made sure we lived. That's what you remember. But, he still won, right? Rafe met his gaze. No one really wins in war, son. But Marcus made sure we didn't lose. He walked on. Later, in a quieter corner of the station, Rafe found himself on the observation deck. Alone. Just the stars. And memory. His hand rested on the glass, eyes searching the distant black. You'd hate all this, he muttered. Ceremonies, records, titles. He chuckled under his breath. But you'd like that they remember your name. Even the lizards. A voice spoke from behind. Low, resonant. You left something. Rafe turned. Sauron stood at the threshold, no guards, no robes. Just scars and silence. He handed over the memory stone, the same one he'd placed on Marcus's body. I had it copied, Sauron said. The original remains on Carson 7. Rafe took it, turning it over in his hand. I thought you were done with politics. I am. But not with the truth. They stood side by side, looking out into the void. Sauron broke the silence. You humans, you grieve differently. We remember differently, Rafe said. You bury warriors. We carry them. Sauron nodded. Do you know why I kept coming back to that place? He asked. Rafe didn't answer. I wanted it to make sense. The fight. His death. My fear. I told myself it was a fluke. That I was superior. But the longer I sat with it, the more I saw what he really was. A man? Rafe asked. No. More than that. He stood against certainty. Against me. And he didn't waver. That terrified me. Rafe looked down at the stone in his palm. That's how we survive. We do what terrifies everyone else. He closed his fist. 2 days later, Rafe returned to Earth. He visited the Vel family, small home, old neighborhood. Marcus's sister opened the door, eyes already wet. He never stopped talking about you, she said. Rafe handed her the memory stone. What is it? She asked. Proof. They sat on the porch. She listened as Rafe told the story. No embellishments. Just the truth. She laughed once, at a dumb joke Marcus had made years ago. Then cried. Then smiled. He always said he'd be famous, she whispered. He is, Rafe said. In every way that matters. Back at his apartment, Rafe pinned Marcus's dog tags above the threshold. Not for decoration. For memory. He didn't sleep that night. He didn't need to. Some echoes don't fade. Some names survive even the silence of space. And on a cold, Broken moon where giants once fell, a Terran soldier's light still blinked, steady, unyielding. A reminder. A warning. A legend.